When you look at this, how impressive was this Raptors win?
The Raptors were great. The Raptors were great. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm giving them an 8. That might not sound great. I'm giving them an 8.
Okay.
But here's some of the things. Usually you can't just look at the box score and get a great idea of what happened. But in this box score, I think you can. When you see that every starter scored at least 17 points, that's incredible. I mean, that is great. When you see that every player shot at least 50% from the floor, when you see that they hit 17 threes, 45%, 17 to 38, they shot 95% from the free throw line. As a team, we talk about a player going 50, 40, 90. 50% from the field, 40% from three, 90% from the line. They did that as a team. That's only the third time in finals history. Every time the Warriors made what looked like it could become a charge, got within 7, Iguodala, Steph, somebody hit a big shot, it seemed like they came right down and hit a 3, right?
I'll raise you a 3. You hit a 3, I'll raise you a 3.
Right. So I give them big-time credit. The reason I only made it an 8 is because, let's face it, they were facing a depleted Warriors team. And outside of Steph Curry, who I believe was magnificent, I can't think of one starter that played well. And maybe, look, Iguodala's 35 years old playing on a bad calf. So it is what it is. DeMarcus Cousins, I for one, expected a lot more based on game 2. Maybe it's not his fault. I mean, he's banged up. He's just getting back from 2 major injuries. Maybe I was expecting too much.
Right.
You know, Sean Livingston, we know he's retiring after the season. So you can't expect too much from him.
He retired before the season. He just played it out.
Right. So, you know, I mean, but Draymond disappointed me. I look at the box, you say 17 and 7, he was all right. No, it wasn't, he didn't have any impact. It was almost like 17 points because, hey, somebody else got to get close to 20.
He hit those 2 threes late.
And that was okay. But, yeah, he didn't have.
Task. Trying to keep Kawhi, trying to keep Pascal Siakam. So that's why you have to appreciate what Klay does. Because Klay takes the best opposing team's offensive player and still gives you 22 a night.
No question. So, look, the Warriors were they had no shot without Klay, and KD obviously is out. I'll say this. I said yesterday, Steph Curry, I didn't have as much faith in him to kind of carry a team like this, like LeBron, KD, Kawhi. I stand corrected. I think Steph Curry put on a tremendous performance. He led them in scoring, rebounding. He's 6'3" at best. And assist against a defense, a team full of great individual defenders that's also a great defensive team that was geared towards stopping him. I mean, it wasn't like they said, oh, let Steph get his and we'll shut down everybody else. How many times did he score over 2 guys? Shoot a 3 over 2 guys, go behind the back twice and still shoot over 2 guys? Like, he was magnificent, and he is definitely in that class of LeBron, Kawhi, KD. I'm not saying he's the best player in the world, but he rightly belongs in that conversation.
I gave him a 9 out of 10, Skip Bayless.
When I hear that tone of voice, I know you're just exaggerating.
A 9, because they deserved it, because they took care of business. Because a lot of times we see teams, Chris, okay, KD's out. We know KD's out. Klay's out. And they dilly-dally around, a lot of Rockets. Dilly-dally around, you find yourself in the fourth quarter in a nip-tuck ball game, and the next thing you know, you lose a ball game you should have won. They stepped on their throat, and as close as they could get it was 7 after the first quarter. The closest. Every run, every Friday set, we come around and dump water. Out. You got another one going, Steph? Out. Oh, Iggy, you trying to do something? Out. Draymond, you want to get 2 layups? Out. And that's what you need to do. And his teammates came to the party. You thought it was just going to be Kawhi. But Kawhi said it ain't no fun if I can't have none.
Oh.
So, hey, Dan agreed.
Right, you just gave number 2 an A, but now you're saying everybody else came to the party, and he just tagged along.
Hey, Chris.
I don't know.
Chris, you ever been in the classroom where a bunch of people got A's?
Yep.
Hey, it ain't just relegate. Oh, just one person. The teacher just give one person an A.
You know what? It's one of those crib courses that they tell the football players to take,
You
where
know
they
what?
just give everybody an A. Am I right?
I wasn't in no class.
Everybody
I
gets
wasn't
an
in no
A.
class. I don't know what you're talking about with those. The only thing, the reason I didn't give him a 10, you only had one guy that could beat you. You let Steph Curry get in the kitchen and start cooking. I'm glad no one else knew how to cook, because if they did, this thing, we would have been having a different outcome. If anybody comes along with Steph, Steph's going to have this kind of game. If he can get 25 from somebody else, I mean a meaningful 25. Draymond hitting them 2 threes late when they down by 18, that meant nothing. But Skip, if he'd have got any help, oh, they let old Chef in the kitchen last night. But you know what? Skip got a little sample. Just for one game, he knew what it'd be like to be from Akron, Ohio.
Well, it reminded you a bit of LeBron's performance the only
difference
last
is
year. They had a chance.
The only difference is Steph wasn't going against 2 MVPs, one of them unanimous, a Defensive Player of the Year, and a 3-point shooting champ. But other than that, go ahead, Skip. You go ahead and take it from here. This is your time to shine.
Thank you. After all that blather I just had to sit through. I'm about to correct the correction offered by my friend Chris Broussard, because he went all the way to magnificent.
Magnificent.
Steph Curry last night.
47.
To answer Jen's question, I'll go to a 7 on the impressive scale, because
7?
obviously they answered a lot of Warriors' little spurts and bursts, and they just said no. But last night was all about Steph Curry. You were making the case if he'd had one of those magical, mystical games at home, that all of a sudden he's vaulting into top 10 in the history of the game status. So I raised my bar, according to you. I put it up in the ceiling here. And I expected he might just go crazy hot last night, where again, against my Spurs, I've seen him do things where I just said, that's just too good, where he gets in a flow and a rhythm, and he's dropping threes from everywhere, and they come in bursts like Danny Green's burst at the end of the second quarter, except he does it all 4 quarters. He'll have bursts like that. 3, and then 3, and then 3. 3 threes, 3 threes. And again, he has a career-high 13 threes, and I thought last night we might see 10 plus, because that's his house, and it was his stage, because Lord knows that he just said, here, Kevin, I'm going to hand you my basketball team because we blew a 3-1 lead to LeBron's team, and we can't do this anymore without you. Well, that was his night to say, you know what, I really don't need that 7-foot monster named Kevin Durant. And by the way, my Splash brother is out, and I'll show you, I'm the older brother here. I'm the only brother we need. Huh? I'm big brother, and we don't really need little brother tonight, because I can do it against this team who's never really been on this stage before, even though they got a lot of experienced players who've done this. But as a group, they've not been here. So I expected explosion Steph. I expected impactful Steph. I expected where he's raining threes until the ceiling falls in on the visiting team. And I didn't see that. Again, when they kept saying he's up in the 40s in points, I kept saying, I just don't remember enough of them. Those were as quiet for him, 47 points, as I can ever imagine. They were as impactless a 47 as I can imagine from him in that building, because it included only 6 threes, which are, by most standards, pretty great. But Danny Green had 6 threes, and Kyle Lowry had 5 last night. So it just...
To offset his 6. That's 11 between 2 guys.
And again, they got outshot for the game 17-12. So it took all the sting out of the 6 threes that he made.
Correct.
But that's
I saw him against Houston. Remember, he was on I kept saying, greatest tear of his career. Went from the fourth quarter of Game 5 through Game 6 against Houston and the first 4 against Portland. I'd never seen him play like that. But that was magic.
What happened in every one of those games? And he was great. But was he even the definitive MVP of that series? He probably was, but Draymond was right there.
Against Portland.
Yeah.
Okay.
So my point is
I just
that
thought it was Steph.
I would have given it to him, but Draymond was close. And so you had help from Draymond, and Clay was there giving you 20-plus every night.
And you look at
That's the difference.
You look at the difference in the Houston series, Skip, that Game 6, you look at Eric Gordon disappeared, Clint Capella disappeared. Okay. So all of James Harden helped James Harden and Chris Paul. They tried to carry the burden alone. You look at this. Kawhi, look at Siakam. Marc Gasol. Skip, we keep talking about when Magic scored that 42 that night in Game 6 and they beat the Sixers, people forget Jamal Wilkes had 38. So if Steph could have got someone to come along with it with the ride, we got a different outcome, Skip.
Steph Curry scored 23 fourth-quarter points at Houston in the closeout game. 23. Those had impact, where I just sat back and said, that's as great as I've ever seen. That was magical mystique from Steph Curry. That was vaulting him on that path that he's talking about toward, could he be a top 10 all-time player? You need to see him finish it off because he's never had great finals, because he's never had a finals MVP, even though you made the case statistically he deserved the 2015 finals, even though Iggy's insertion into the lineup, that had impact. That changed the flow of that series. So last night, I just wanted to see him. It was his moment to shine, because now we think Kevin's going to try to play on Friday. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're pretty sure Clay will try. Right. We don't know how long he'll last on Friday. But all of a sudden, the stage won't belong only to Steph.
Right.
And it did last night. And again, he was really good, but was he Steph great?
Yeah.
Like explosive great?
It might have been as good as we've seen him.
Oh, right.
Maybe not that 54-point performance that we saw in Madison Square Garden, but Skip, he was unbelievable last night.
Well, what if he'd made 13 threes last night?
Well, of course, if he would have, I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying.
But he shot, what is 6 for 14? That's 40-something% from three. Like, I mean, I get it. He didn't have one of those 10 3-point games.
There were too many twos and free throws, because those don't blow the other team off the floor. They never even got closer than 7 points, right?
But that wasn't on him.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, are you that guy or not?
Any player. How many championships did Magic win without Kareem? None.
No.
You know, I mean, LeBron, as great as he is, how many did he win without Kyrie or D-Wade? None. Like, you can't do it by yourself, no matter how good
unless
you
you're
are.
Michael Jordan.
No.
You can do it by yourself.
Michael Jordan had Pippen. They won 55 games when Jordan was gone.
He made Pippen.
He did.
I do agree with that. He developed and raised him like a newborn baby, like a child. Okay, he developed, he nurtured him. But Pippen got to a point where he was really good.
Really good.
Because of Jordan.
Let me ask you a question. Before he got Pippen, can you tell Skip what happened to him in the first round?
Swept. How about, what is Michael's most renowned, and for all the great things he did?
That 63
The individual game we all remember, the 63-point game.
And
they lost.
And he missed a shot at the end of regulation and overtime that would have won it. But you don't want to talk about that.
You give him
Wait
a
a
B.
second. Jesus and sneakers, said Larry Bird, right?
Yeah.
He did.
He said he's God disguised as Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Excellent
But don't worry about it.
points all the way around, Justin.
Well, I wouldn't give all the way around.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not.
Well, I'll leave you with this. Regardless of how he got him, it was the most points Steph's ever scored in a finals game.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.